Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again, man. Welcome to DFS Zone. I got a brand new video for you, ladies and gentlemen. But before I get started, like always, I appreciate you guys drop a like. And if you're new to the channel, first time here, never ever seen any of my NBA lineup advice videos, hey, the only thing you need to do to be able to get this information on a consistent basis is to become a subscriber down below. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you put on that post notification, that bell icon. Make sure you turn that on. So this way you don't miss out on any of my NBA lineup advice videos. With that being said, today is Tuesday, January the 8th, 2019, and we have an 8-game slate again in the association. And first things first, today I'm basically gonna give you what I normally do, and then I'm gonna throw in, I normally don't do this. I'll usually do this only on 3 and 4 game slates, but I figure, what the heck, 8-game slate, I just feel like crunching some of the players up. So I'm going to discuss a few plays that I really do like, and then we're just going to throw them into the Fantasy Cruncher, the software that I use, and we're going to crunch them. We're going to optimize a few lineups and hand out a couple of lineups to my viewers, and at the same time we'll see what percentages we get on some of the players and see if some of the players that I am interested in and that I'm actually suggesting to you are going to be in that top percentage of plays for today on Fantasy Cruncher, and we'll take it from there. So hopefully you guys stick around and watch that. But let's go through the positions at first. First thing, also, last night didn't pan out good for me. I think I cashed only like $1 or $2 or something like that. It was really horrible. But I didn't play a whole lot of games yesterday. Haven't played a whole lot in the last few days. I was pretty busy over the weekend, like I told you guys. Just one of the reasons why I didn't do videos. But anyway, nonetheless, the beauty about DFS, hey, you know what? You have a couple of bad nights, or you have a bad night, or a couple of the plays didn't pan out, which happened for me yesterday, and some of the ones I suggested to you guys didn't pan out as well. But some did come through and played fairly well. The beauty of it is you can just shake it off and do it again. That's the beauty about DFS, and especially NBA DFS, because you get to do it all over again the next day. It's not like the NFL where you got to wait till the following week or Thursday night or Monday night to try to redeem yourself. You get to crack right at it the very next day. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm ready to go. Let's go at the point guard spot here. At the top, we got Mr. Westbrook, Curry, Simmons, Walker. Out of all 4 of those top tier guys, the top studs of the day. First things first, top stud of the day. The studs that I'm aiming for every day, I usually tell you who I'm, if I'm thinking of a stud, who am I going to go with? Today, I'm really willing to pay up for the center spot today as far as studs are concerned. So I'm actually going to bypass guys like Westbrook and stuff like that. I'm going to focus more so on Embiid and actually like Karl Anthony Towns. I kind of like those 2 guys the best today. If you look at the top studs of the days, you can see Westbrook is the top, Embiid, and then Towns, then Jokic. So I'm kind of leaning towards having a little bit of exposure, 50% to Embiid and 50% to Towns, and pay up at those areas today. But at point guard, man, I'll come down to, Kemba Walker is due for a big game. I am going to have exposure to Kemba. Probably about 20-25% of my lineups will have some Kemba Walker. He's due for a big game at some point very much soon. The Clippers have a lot of vulnerability in the backcourt. They have not been defending well against point guards, so it's an opportunity for him again today. Granted, he's on the road and he is not a better shooter on the road than he is at home, but I think he is someone that I will have some exposure to. Other than that, Jamal Murray, he's just screwed me up two times in a row over the last couple of weeks, so I'm not high on Jamal Murray. But Jeff Teague stands out to me. He's back from injury. He's doing very, very well. He put in 2 solid games already since coming back from his injury. He's averaging 12 points, nearly 3 rebounds, pretty much close to 9 assists a game, 30 fantasy points, 7,200 here on Fanduel. You need 36 to meet value. And on DK, he's 6,500, very manageable there at 33. You need pretty much like 32, 33 to meet value there. And the guy's been putting up 41 plus in 2 games since coming back, averaging 28 minutes, and as you can see, double-digit scoring, double digits in assists. So he's had 2 double-doubles in a row. And Derrick Rose is more than likely, Derrick Rose is still out. Let's put it that way. Derrick Rose is still out, so we know he's going to get the minutes. He's going to get some time to play here. Jones is going to get some time off the floor, off the bench. But Jeff Teague is a solid play here. We'll come and take a look at him a little closer. And as you can see, all the thumbs up here are the guys that I kind of like today. In the point guard spot, you're going to see that with each succeeding position that I talk about. As you can see, I already checked off Fox and Walker, Moutier. But let's come down to Jeff Teague. And the minutes are there, 28 to 29. They're going to just get a little bit more of a bump. He's probably going to be over 30 minutes possibly today. Usage rate is going to be over 20%. He's going to take some shots. He's capable of hitting some threes. As you can see, 3 of 3 and 3 of 6 in his first 2 games back. He's a decent free throw shooter, and at the same time, he fills up the stat sheets. He gets some rebounds. He's mostly an assist guy, so he's going to get a lot of assists. As you can see, he is normally in that 10 to 11 or 12 assists per game. Doesn't turn over the ball a whole lot, and he's capable of getting us some steals and the occasional block here and there. So Teague, I really do like here. Last year versus OKC, we'll click on that right now. He put up a 28 spot. This was a 28 spot this year. We're going to go back to last year. This was this year, and this was in the preseason. As you can see, this was October the 5th. So we're not going to go by that. We're going to go by last year, 33-39 in 2 matchups against this team last year. Granted, his price tag is a little up at $7,200 today. That's the only concern, is that the price is a little up on him, but I think he's capable of getting the job done here. OKC is 8th in defending point guards, but they have been allowing 31.4 fantasy points to opposing point guards as of late. They did give up 61 to Harden, 25 to Lonzo Ball, 46 to Rubio, and 57 to Fox. Those 4 games were within the last 7 or 8 matchups. I went back as far as 8 matchups because they have not faced a whole lot of top tier, and these are the top guys that I found in the last 7 or 8 games. Well, Jeff Teague, with the bump here in minutes, I do like the matchup as far as him getting minutes and usage with OKC today. Should be a competitive game. I do expect him to do well. So other than Jeff Teague, which I do like the best today, I did mention that I will have some Kemba Walker exposure. Like I said, Kemba Walker is playing the Clippers. The Clippers are 26th in defending point guards, allowing 37.6 fantasy points per game as of late. So he's in a very, very good, favorable matchup. Last time he played the Clippers, he put up a 30. Last year, he put up a 37 and 39 spot in 2 meetings against these guys. Other than those 2 guys, I did put down Emmanuel Mudiay of my New York Knicks going up to Golden State. He's on the front end of a back-to-back, but he's playing more than enough minutes. The only thing I'm concerned with is on the front end of back-to-back that more than likely maybe Trey Burke gets a little bit more time today than Mudiay. So it's tough to gauge, but he is definitely the starting point guard for the Knicks. So long as he feels well enough, I think he's going to still get his 30 minutes plus. So he could be someone to consider here. Golden State, is capable of giving up some fantasy points. Darren Collison here, this is something to really monitor. Darren Collison, as well as his teammate Corey Joseph, are both game time decisions with injuries. If they both happen to be out, I would think Mr. Aaron Holiday is going to party, because when Oladipo was out for that long period of time, Holiday was getting a lot of the reps in the shooting guard spot, as well as in the point guard spot. And I would think if both of these guys are out, he's going to get the bump. He's going to get some minutes there. So look out for value with Aaron Holiday out of the Holiday brothers for the Indiana Pacers. Now, granted, if one of these 2 guys are able to play, I do like them in the matchup today. I do like Collison or Joseph if either one of them could play. Cleveland is 10th in defending point guards and allowing 35 as of late, 35 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. So I do like Collison or Joseph in this matchup today. And if they both happen to be out, then look to save a little bit more and get Mr. Aaron Holiday if we get word that he is the one who's going to step in and start. Other than that, you still have also here Devontae Graham here for Charlotte. If Jeremy Lamb is out, he's been the one who's been playing, and I would love Jeremy Lamb to be out because I do like a couple of players in that game against the Charlotte and the Clippers game. But Devontae Graham is someone to consider as well. Like I did mention, watch out for Trey Burke. You never know what the Knicks will do with Trey Burke. Tony Park is another one I'm throwing in the player pool. And other than that, TJ McConnell, I think I passed him. TJ McConnell is someone you must consider. He's been pretty steady, consistent, getting 20, 22, 23 fantasy points per game pretty much in about 6 or 7 straight games. As you can see that. I was looking at that last night. So he's been pretty steady. He's, call him steady TJ. So TJ is someone to consider here if you want to pay. And then another guy you got to consider here, remember, Devin Booker is a game time decision as well. If he does not go, then that's going to be a bump on TJ Warren. Josh Jackson automatically is more than likely going to start. So he's going to be someone to consider. So that's a very big possible, that's something they definitely got to monitor. And of course, Mr. DeAnthony Melton. Okay, so Melton is in play as well if there is no No Devin Booker, and Melton is here at 4,500. He's 4,100 on DK, so you need about 20 on DK. You need about 22, 23 on Fanduel, so he'll be someone to consider as well. Let's go over to shooting guard, and those guys, including a few more, are in the player pool for the optimizer. At shooting guard, you got Bradley Beal at the top, Oladipo, and to be honest with you, I already told you I'm not paying for top tier studs in the point guard and shooting guard positions today. These are tough matchups, man. Bradley Beal's got to go up against Jimmy Butler defense, and Jimmy Butler's got to go up with Bradley Beal defense. But if I was to choose either one of the two, maybe because of price, almost $1,900 cheaper, you probably will have to go with Jimmy Butler. But then again, you have to consider that he has Embiid and he has also Simmons on that team. So it's going to be, sorry about that, folks. It's going to be an issue. That's going to be probably an issue there as far as getting enough out of Jimmy Butler, so that's a concern there. So I'd rather not play either one of them. And then, of course, Devin Booker is a game-time decision. If he is out, then, you know, I'm not on him as well, of course. But when you come down here, I do like Lou Will, and I do like Mr. Bogdanovich. And I'm going to speak upon Bogdanovich because I've only have selected him once so far this year. This is my second time. I think this is a good matchup for him. I think this game, paced-up game, Phoenix, no Devin Booker. I could see them going up and down the court trying to keep pace with Sacramento. Should be an interesting game. Even if Devin Booker plays, I still think that Bogdanovich is someone you can consider. Last night, obviously, Buddy Hield definitely, you know, shit the bet on me. He didn't shoot particularly well. He didn't play well. And, you know, unfortunately, the team started blowing away Orlando, so obviously that didn't help as well. Sometimes you got to look at that. But Bogdanovich at 6,500, averaging 15 points, 3.5 rebounds, 4 assists. He's kind of pretty balanced off. That's the beauty about him. He gives you a little bit of everything. 27.5 fantasy points. He's at 6,500. You need 32 here, and he's only 5,900 on DK, so he's a nice play on DK as well. You need 29 to meet value there, and he's averaging nearly almost 28 fantasy points per game. And when I look at his game log, he's been pretty solid, man. He's got about 35 or better in 5 out of the last 7 games. He's averaging 20, 5 out of 7, and he's playing over 30 minutes per game. Let's go over to the shooting guard spot, and we'll take a look at Mr. Bogdanovich. And as you can see, 4 out of his last 5 at least 35 or better. The minutes are there, 32, 35 in the last 2. He's pretty much averaging closer to about, I would say, 30, maybe about 29, 30 minutes a game. And then look at the shots. Now, granted, if Bogdanovich is even a better play if there's no Iman Shumpert, I think even if Shumpert comes back, I think Bogdanovich is still going to get more than enough minutes on the floor. But I forgot to mention, if Shumpert is out, this is definitely a great play. We know he's going to get over 30 minutes if Shumpert is out. So 15 to 16 shots in the last 2 games. He's pretty much averaging about 14, 15 shots per game. And then look at the three-point shooting is there. He's going to get some threes. He's taken quite a bit. He's taken 8 in the last 2 games apiece, and he's able to get to the foul line. Good free throw shooter. He gets you the rebounds. He gets you assists, and he's capable of getting you some steals. So he does play some good defense. Definitely moves his feet, and he's been pretty good with his personal fouls. He's not a guy that gets into trouble with fouling. As you can see, 3 straight games, just 1 foul per game. So he's pretty solid there. At home, he's also very good too, man. The kid is good at home. His field goal percentage, 44%, 38% from 3, averaging 17 points a game and 30 fantasy points. He did play against Phoenix already one time this year. That was back on December the 4th. He put up a 28 spot in 20 minutes, more than 1 fantasy point per minute in that matchup. But again, he didn't have to take a whole lot of shots because he was coming off the bench. If he is playing and he's starting here tonight, you obviously are going to see a bump. Obviously, we know that already, a bump in minutes, a bump in usage, and in shots, and that will equate to more fantasy points for us. So Bogdanovich is definitely someone in play. Phoenix is 19th in defending shooting guards. They're allowing 29.4 fantasy points per game as of late to opposing shooting guards. They did give up 41 to J.J. Redick, 36 to Mr. Schroeder. And again, if you're and this, again, if they are, and this is with Devin Booker defending these guys. But with no Devin Booker here, Bogdanovich definitely a good solid play, even though he more than likely is going to be defended by possibly T.J. Warren or maybe Josh Jackson if Devin Booker is out. All right. Other than Bogdanovich, like I said, I do like the guy right above him, Lou Will. Lou Will is definitely someone I consider. I mean, 28 plus in 7 out of his last 9 games, he has put up 28 fantasy points or better. So he's trending upward. He's averaging 28 already. He did, he did put up 56 in a 30 spot versus Charlotte already. Charlotte is 14th in defending shooting guards, allowing 20.7 fantasy points per game, which is really, really good. Again, that's due to the fact that they have Jeremy Lamb. Now, if Jeremy Lamb is out, Lou Will is definitely even a better play. Definitely am concerned if Jeremy Lamb does play. So, again, monitor the news. If Jeremy Lamb is out, you should consider possibly throwing in and sprinkling Lou Will in some of those lineups. Other than Lou Will, you got, Jordan Clarkson played Cleveland, played Indiana early in the year, didn't do that well, but he was coming off the bench, wasn't starting. Now he's actually starting and playing a lot of minutes. He could be someone to consider here at 5,500. Josh Okogie is definitely someone to consider here. Obviously, he's been playing for Covington while Covington has been out. So at 4,300, Okogie is not a bad play. Versus OKC, they are 7th in defending shooting guards, and they've been allowing 39 fantasy points as of late in the shooting guard spot. So Beal put up 49, Hart put up 39, Doncic put up 36. Granted, this is a rookie. He's probably not going to put up those kind of numbers, but at 4,300, you really need 21, 22 from him. If he can get us 22 to 23 minutes or better and put up at least 1 fantasy point per minute, is not a bad play, and he's capable of getting you 30. All right, he has at least 30-point upside. So Koji is someone to consider. And then you go down a little further, you got to consider Torrey Craig here against Miami. I'm not planning to touch too many guys in the Miami-Denver game. The only one that really stands out to me that I do like in the matchup is Justice Winslow. But even him, he's a little pricey. But Torrey Craig, could be a possibility. Maybe Malik Beasley in that game, but that's about it. Other than that, you always got to consider Jamal Crawford, especially if there is no Devin Booker. Crawford will get a bump in minutes. We'll get some time at 3,700. You only need 15, 16 fantasy points. And if he can get 15 to 20 minutes, he's one that can get streaky, hit a couple of threes, and he could put you in that position to get more than 15, 17 fantasy points in me value. Chesson Randall could be someone to consider, so always consider that as well. And Damian Dotson for the Knicks at 3,500. He's at bare minimum price. Sometimes you never know with Coach Fizdale there on what he's going to do with Dotson. So, but those are some guys to consider. At small forward today, I'm not at the top. Like I said, I'm not going to pay for these studs, Durant or Leonard. Leonard's in a matchup there Kyle Lowry's back. He's going to probably get a little bit less touches than he has been getting while Kyle was out. Durant is going up against the Knicks. I'm just fearful that this game may get a little out of hand. New York is going to front end of a back-to-back. They did lose last night in Portland. Going out to Golden State, you never know what Coach Fizdale will do. And the bottom line is Durant can get hot at any point. He might be able to get the 50 you need, 51, but I am concerned of the game being a bit of a blowout. So Durant is someone I'm not going to consider. Leonard. I do like Paul George here, and I'm willing to put him in a few lineups, but I've given you guys Paul George all the time. We know where he stands right now. He's in a little bit, as of late, hasn't put up the big numbers, but he is a good player. He's going to be able to get those big games again. I think this is a good competitive game here today. Even without Covington, you got to love Paul George with no Robert Covington defending him. Robert Covington is a good defender, and Paul George is not going to, I don't know who's going to defend him. So I think that him, other than Russell, will have the big, I think him, as opposed to Russell, will probably have the bigger game because Jeff Teague definitely can defend a bit. So Paul George is someone I am going to have exposure to. Probably 30% of my lineups will have Paul George. So he's someone you definitely should consider out of the top 3 here. I think he's in a decent matchup on a game that's going to be competitive and has an opportunity for him to put 50 or better. Other than that, down here, TJ Warren is definitely someone I am eyeing and more than likely will play, even if there's Devin Booker, but love him more so if there is no Devin Booker, and that's what I'm aiming for. No Devin Booker, we know he's going to get a bump in minutes, usage on the court. He's going to take more shots. I mean, it's been 23 and 20 in the last 2 games. He's been really, really good. 18 points, 4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 30 fantasy points per game, 6,200. You only need 31 from him. He's averaging 30. He is pricey on DK. On DK, he's a no-no. 7,100 on DK. You need 36, 37. I'm not saying that he cannot get it, but I'd rather you pay to maybe get Bogdanovich in the shooting guard position and then pay for someone else at small forward, or you can use Bogdanovich because I think he's eligible. Yeah, he actually is eligible as small forward, eligible on DK. You can actually slip in Bogdanovich there. Bogdanovich is only, I think he's like 5,900 or something like that on DK. So he's a much cheaper, better play there. But TJ Warren, definitely not for DK, but he is priced really nice here on FanDuel, and he'll be even a great, great play if there is no Devin Booker. So I definitely like TJ Warren. 35 plus in 4 out of his last 5 games. Let's look at the cruncher here. And we look at Mr. TJ Warren. And you can see that 35-44 in the last few games. We know he's going to get minutes, 29 or better. He'll get a bump. He'll definitely be over 30 minutes if there's no Devin Booker. 23 to 26% usage rate, so you know he gets utilized quite a bit. He takes shots when he's on the floor. He's very offensive-minded. 9 out of 17, 8 of 14 in his last 2 games, taking as much as 14, 15 shots per game. There have been games that he's taken as much as 17 or 18. He will take some threes, and he's capable of burying those as well. As you can see in his last few games, he's taken at least 3 to 4 threes per game on average over the last few games and hitting at least 50% or better. He can get to the foul line. We'd love to see him get to the foul line a little bit more so in games, but when he does get on the line, he's, as you can see, he is pretty efficient from there as well. Rebounding, he is not a big rebounder. He's not a big assist guy. He can get you a few. That's the one thing. He is more scoring dependent, so we definitely need him to hit threes and be able to get his shots from the floor. But he's pretty good at not getting a lot of turnovers, and he's pretty good at getting some steals. As you can see, as of late, he's gotten 6 steals and 1 block in the last 2 games. He has to clean up the fouls. We cannot let him get into foul trouble. If he can stay away from foul trouble, that will also help in him staying on the floor longer and having more opportunities to put up fantasy points. So TJ Warren, absolutely someone to consider here. At home, he's 49% field goal percentage and 48% from 3, averaging 18 points and 29 fantasy points per game. The last time he played last year against Sacramento, he did put up in his last meeting against them a 38 spot. So TJ Warren is someone that I am considering a whole lot today, and especially love him more so, like I said, if there's no Devin Booker. Other than him, I definitely like the other Bogdanovich here. 5,500. You got to have some exposure to Mr. Bojan Bogdanovich. 5,500 for him. He's going up against Cleveland. They're 23rd in defending small forwards, and they have been allowing 28.6 fantasy points per game as of late to small forwards. They did give up 31 to Joe Ingles, 38 to Kyle Anderson over the last 2 out of the last 4 games in the season. So Bogdanovich is definitely someone to consider, and he is another one that's pretty sturdy, pretty steady and pretty consistent. So you got to love that. In 2 games versus Cleveland this year, he's been averaging 26 fantasy points. So we definitely need him to put a little bit more, but he's capable. I think he's done 30 or better in the last couple of games. Let me take a quick look at him. If I remember last night, yes, he's put 26, and he put a 42 spot against Toronto. So Bogdanovich is definitely someone to consider. Other than that, another guy you got to consider is Otto Porter Jr., 4,900. This is a 7K guy. He just came back from a long, period of time being injured. And, I mean, we got to wait for those numbers to go up, but we know his numbers are pretty good. Last game put up almost a 43 spot. He had a 30 spot prior to that against Miami. So 3 games back, the minutes are slowly coming up. If he gets 25 or more minutes today, he's capable of getting 40 or better. So he has definitely the upside. Versus Philadelphia's 3rd in defending small forwards. They have been allowing 22 fantasy points per game as of late, which is really, really good. The last top-tier player that they have faced was Tobias Harris, and that was 3 games ago. He put up 36 fantasy points, and 6 games back, Jason Tatum put up 47 against his team. But again, Otto Porter, 4,900 here. You only need 24, and on DK, he's 5,600. Still fair price for him on DK. I definitely love him a lot more on FanDuel. So Otto Porter is definitely someone you must have in your watch list, someone to definitely keep an eye on for today, and he should be someone you should definitely consider in your lineups. Other than that, you got to also consider Jeff Green. There's a couple of guys here. They will be in the player pool at the end. Let's go power forward. We go to power forward up here at the top. I do like a couple of guys at the top. I'm not too high on John Collins because Toronto is pretty good. He's going to have to deal with defense from Siakam, and Siakam is going to have to deal with defense from Collins because Dedmon should be playing. If Dedmon is not playing, Alex Lynn will start. So we know John Collins will be in his natural spot at the 4. I do love here Tobias Harris going up against Charlotte. So he is going to be my favorite play at least I'm going to have a lot of exposure to Tavares Harris. 21 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 35 fantasy points per game. 7,700, you need 37 from him, so he's very close to his average. On DK, he's 7,600. I could live with that on DK. He needs 35 to 36 pretty much to meet value on both platforms. He did put up a 47 spot in his last game. He has had 36 plus in 2 out of his last 3 games. Let's come over here to the cruncher. And as you can see, he is here, as well as Pascal. There's a couple of guys that I'm putting in the player pool. And as you can see, he's been a little up and down. The numbers haven't looked pretty, but he has 50-point upside, which we do know. And he's playing more than enough minutes. The last 2 games, 35 and 36 respectively. He's over 21% usage rate. He is taking more than enough shots. 15 to pretty much 16 shots per game on average. But he did take 21 shots in the last game, shot nearly 50%. And, of course, he brings rebounding. He's capable of hitting free throws. He's capable of hitting a couple of threes. We don't expect a whole lot from him there, but he can hit some threes, and he's taking at least 2 or 3 on average per game. He's getting the rebounds. Not going to get a whole lot of assists from him. Can have some turnover issues. Hasn't done that in 2 games. Well, 2 games ago, he had 7 of them. But he brings some defense. As you can see here, 5 steals and 2 blocks in the last 2 games. Keep himself clean, stay away from foul trouble. Tavares Harris could be a very, very fine play here against Charlotte his last time. And he's actually been pretty good at home, too. Looking at his home stats, 48% field goal percentage, 39%, nearly almost 40% from 3 when he's taking some threes, 83% from the free throw stripe, averaging 20 points per game and 37 fantasy points per game, which is about his average, all right? Versus Charlotte, last season, a 32 spot and a 42 spot, and as you can see, he has done fairly well in about 6 games against Charlotte, at least 30 to 31 fantasy points or better. The only big game was 42, but we know he has 50-point upside, so Tavares Harris is definitely someone I'm considering. Charlotte has been having some issues in the 4 spot, 26th in defending power forwards. They've been allowing 36.3 fantasy points per game to opposing small forwards as of the last 5 games. TJ Warren put up 44 on them in the last game out. Jokic, playing the 4 spot for Denver 2 games ago, put up 72. And we had 46 from Jeff Green. So Jeff Green for Washington put up 46 on them. So there is definitely some opportunity there for Mr. Tavares Harris. Other than Tavares Harris, I do like Siakam going up against Collins. I'd rather pay down $900 or actually $1,100 for Siakam. Definitely a tough matchup for both, so it's hard to take either one of the two, but I would say I'll lean more towards Siakam, and also because he is at home. Sabonis, Green, the next guy I really do like is Draymond Green going up against my Knicks. My only concern is the blowout situation, but if that game could stay fairly close for at least 2 to 3 quarters, Draymond Green in a 1/2 could put up some really big numbers. He's a double-double, triple-double guy, so I mean at 7,100, you got to consider him. He's going against, at 7,100, you only need 35, and on DK 7,200, you need 36 to meet value. Definitely an area that he can definitely meet. He is capable of getting you 50 or better. He's going up against New York. They're 24th in defending power forwards, and they've been allowing 35.7 fantasy points, pretty much 36 fantasy points per game up front. And Green, the last time he played against New York, put up a 39.8, so you could round that off to a 40 spot. So, you know, he's already put up a 40 spot against them, and he has 50-point upside. Draymond Green is definitely my second choice here, other than Tavares Harris. And then you come down a little bit lower, you could consider Vonderlei going up against Golden State. Thaddeus Young is definitely someone that I do like here as well. I also do like Larry Nance Jr. going up against Indy. He did put up a 53 spot on them in their last meeting on December 18th, and he put up a 38 spot in their first meeting earlier in the year. At 5,800, you only need 28, and he's capable of getting you 40 or better. So Larry Nance Jr. is someone to consider. Indy's coming in here giving up 30 fantasy points per game to opposing power forwards. So there is a little bit of room there for Larry Nance to hopefully do some damage. Other than that, you got here at the bottom tier, you could consider Marvin Williams. He's been pretty steady as of late for the Charlotte Hornets going against the Clippers. It is a tough matchup for him. He's going to have to deal with Tavares Harris, maybe even Mr. Harrell. Down here in the bottom half, you never know with Miami because they just utilize all their big men. So Adebayo is someone in play at 4,400. But then again, they also use Kelly Olynyk, and he's 4,000, so you could go with Kelly. It's just a tough choice. But Josh Jackson is probably the best bet down here, especially if there is no Devin Booker. If Devin Booker is out, you got to consider Josh Jackson at 4,100. You only need 21. Okay, so no Booker, Josh Jackson. 2 out of his last 3 games, he's been putting up 32 plus. So he's capable of getting you 40. Streaky guy, but if you give him minutes, anything can happen, and you got to take advantage of the price tag, especially if Mr. Devin Booker is out. And then, of course, there's a few more in the player pool. At center, like I said, I was willing to pay up in this area. My 2 favorite guys are Embiid and Mr. Karl Anthony Towns. Embiid, he had 11,005. You need pretty much 57. And he's averaging 27 points a game, 13 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 52.3 fantasy points per game. And like I said, at 11,005, you need 57 to meet value. On DK, he's 11K on the nose, so you need 55. He has had 51 plus in 5 straight games. And we know he has 70-point upside, right? We come over and take a look at him a little bit further here. And Mr. Embiid, and you can see that. 61, 62, 77, a 51 spot on a dud game here, just below value. All right, but nonetheless, usage rate over 30%. Minutes are going to be over 30, 35%, 35 minutes per game. He's going to take 17 to 18 shots, maybe even more per game, and he gets to the foul line a ton. And he is not that bad on some nights, and some nights he could be pretty bad. But he's about an 80% free throw shooter for a big guy. That's pretty darn good. And he's capable of hitting you some threes. As you can see here, he takes about 3 or 4 threes per game on average. Rebounding is there. Assists, he gets a few here and there. So he really fills up the stat sheet and then brings the defense. Steals and blocks, which is his specialty, and he has to stay away from foul trouble. He's been doing that 3 games straight without fouling out. But if he could stay clean there, he will be very, very good. He's going up against Washington. Again, at home, he's been pretty solid, too, from the floor. 51% field goal percentage, 29.5%, nearly 30% from 3 for a big guy, 81% from the free throw line, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks, 28 points per game, and 54 fantasy points per game on average at home this year. He did play Washington 1 game earlier this year, and he shot 42% in that game with 15 rebounds, 16 points, put up 43 fantasy points. He did that all in, I think, in minimal amount of minutes. I think it was like 28 minutes or something. 22 minutes. 22 minutes because it was a blowout. So hopefully Washington will keep it a little close. That's my only concern also with this game, which I should have mentioned right off the top. This is why I'm going to have equal exposure to Karl Anthony Towns. You got to consider Karl Anthony Towns, especially the way he's been playing as of late. He has been really, really red hot for 6, 7 straight games. He's been rock solid. He's coming in here against OKC. OKC is 24th in defending centers, and they've been giving up 34.3 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. They did give up 31 to Mr. Karl Anthony Towns earlier in the year. As you can see here, this was in the preseason, the 46 spot. He did get a 66, almost a 67 spot against them last year. But again, it's a totally different scenario. We can't look at it at last year. We got to consider this 31-point game here, which was a close game, and he didn't play. He didn't even take up a whole lot of shots back on December 23rd. So, but I think that is definitely the scenario now. He is in a totally different position now where he is the man here. He does have Jeff Teague back, which definitely does help, but we still expect him to put up a ton of shots. Other than these 2 guys, there's a couple of guys you can go for value here. You got to watch this game here for Miles Turner. If Miles Turner is out, all right, then you got to consider going with Tristan Thompson, who will be battling against Indiana. No Miles Turner, definitely love Tristan Thompson. Indiana's 8th in defending centers, but they're giving up 33.4 fantasy points per game. So to me, if there's no Turner, you got to keep an eye on Tristan Thompson. At 6,200, you'd only need 31 fantasy points, which he is capable of getting. Then you also have this Detman situation, Detman and Lin going up against Toronto. All right, you know there you're going to face Mr. Ibaka or Mr. Monroe. So Lin and Detman are definitely 2 guys you can consider here as far as value, as far as low-price players, 58 and 5,500. And then you got to consider also Willie Hernangomez here, 5,100 going against the Clippers. The Clippers have been giving up 39.5 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. So you got to consider Willie Hernangomez and Mr. Even Biyombo. Biyombo is only 4,000. So again, you know, little tough spot to be in if you go with Hernangomez or do you go with Biyombo so you can open up the doors. And that's if you want to really pay up or have more of a balanced line today or getting at least 1 or 2 studs in another area other than a center. I think today is a good day to pay up for the centers, in my opinion. That's all. So that's where I'm at. You know, that's where I'm at. Willie Cauley-Stein stands out also against Phoenix. You could consider him. Phoenix has been giving up 36.5 fantasy points per game. There's a lot of fantasy points being given up by a lot of these opposing teams to their opponents, to opposing centers thus far in this slate today. So, I mean, you got Washington giving up 38.5. You got Toronto giving up 37.5. You have Sacramento giving up 36.5. You have Phoenix giving up 33.3, OKC 34.3, and the Clippers 39.5. That's what I've been able to track down. So you can go with any one of those guys. I pretty much have them all here. So that's where I'm at. So I had a couple of people say they like when I put the players here. So I'm going to put that. So I said Teague here is my favorite. As shooting guard, I'm going with Bogdanovich. As small forward, I pretty much said that I will have exposure to Paul George. We won't put him here so we can see a little flexibility. So we'll go TJ Warren. At power forward, definitely Tobias Harris or Draymond Green. Either one of those two, I think, are the top plays, at least for me, at least as of right now. And then I'm going to go Joel Embiid here. So that still leaves 52-25. If you wanted to go that route, you could also take out Embiid and pull Karl Anthony Towns. At either one of those two, I'm going 50-50 pretty much on those guys. But we'll put, for the sake of the video, we'll put Embiid there. And then pretty much all those guys are here in the optimizer, right? So as you can see, there's 158 guys here on Fantasy Cruncher in today's slate. All 158 I left in there. I did not deduct anybody. All the ones with the green thumbs up are players that I'm considering. Towns, Embiid, Stein, Whiteside, Tristan Thompson, Dwayne Dedmon, Bismack Biyombo. And it goes on and on. My forwards, these are the guys that I'm looking at. Small forward, these are the guys I'm looking at. Shooting guard, these are the players I'm looking at, which is very minimal. It's not a whole lot of shooting guard. Point guard, same thing. A little bit more on the point guard because I think there's a little bit of value in some of the point guard spots. And that's basically it. So now we're going to crunch it up. We're going to do, let's do, I won't do 100 lineups because it's just a lot. I have it here 70. Let's punch in 70 in there. And let's see what we get. And I'll share that with you guys. And again, it's entirely up to you. You want to play some of these guys. Now remember, you see some of these guys that are popping up, Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, and some of these lineups. These guys might, we know Jimmy Butler is good to go. Devin Booker might be out. So we might have to just take him out of there real quickly here in the video and just and then basically just optimize another lineup without Devin Booker in it. All right. We got 28 lineups built already. Give it another moment, guys. Get a little bit of water here. 38 lineups. It's taking a little bit of time, but we'll be able to get a couple of lines here. It's a lot of players is actually optimizing. I normally cut these down. I never done it this way for you guys when we do the 3 and 4 game video. I usually just optimize only the players that I think are the best possible plays or that we at least should be targeting. But I think it's unfair to do it that way when I'm actually sharing it with my viewers. So I rather just have all the players that are available tonight. Everything here is stated. I have everything listed as anybody that's putting up at least 3 or 4 fantasy points or more that they are projected by. Remember, these projections here on Fantasy Crunchers are Fantasy Crunchers. They're not mine. This is why I say that you don't necessarily have to go with all these lineups, but it gives you an idea, and then you can basically cut back. You can cut some players out. I will show you 1 or 2 things that I do use here that help out with this Fantasy Cruncher, just in case you guys are interested in ever using the Fantasy Cruncher. You'll help me out by utilizing the link in the description of the video. I get a little affiliate, kickback for anybody that comes aboard. All right, so the 70 lineups are done, and it shows here De'Aaron Fox at point guard as the top guy. All 70 lineups has De'Aaron Fox, which I'm not high on De'Aaron Fox today, but I'm not high on him. I'm not saying that I'm not playing him. I do have him in the player pool as you see that I did check him off with the thumbs up. Then it has Marvin Williams, 80%. All right, so let's look at, so instead of going through this like this, I'm going to share with you this way. Point guard, De'Aaron Fox, they got Emmanuel Mudiay, 49% out of the 70 lineups. He's in 34 of them. Kimball Walker, 41%. Patrick Beverly, 4%. Quinn and Burke. Those guys don't even matter. It's Walker, Mudiay, and Fox. A shooting guard, the top guys are Booker, Okogie, Butler. Then got Dotson at 23%. The guy that I selected, Bogdanovich, only 6%. He's only in 4 of these lineups, folks. So see, it comes to show you, but I still like Bogdanovich today. I really do. So this is why I told you in the previous videos, I don't normally go all the time with if I like a lineup here, I play it, but I will not optimize 100 or 70 lineups and just put all 70 of these in there, even if I wanted to. I would definitely want to look over them and see if there's anybody that I really want to eliminate, because I'm not going to play all these guys. But the bottom line here, that's what we have. We got Booker, Okogie, Butler, Dotson, Bogdanovich, and Monty Morris. Then at small forward, the top guys are George, 64%, which I told you I will have at least half my lineups with Paul George at small forward. Otto Porter, not a bad play, 41% out of the 70. Vince Carter is third. Then we have the other Bogdanovich at 29%, Gallinari at 9%, Oubre at 9%, Mikal Bridges at 7%, and Derek Jones at 6%. At power forward, the top guy, Marvin Williams, with Larry Nance Jr., the second guy, at 46%. Harry Giles, 37%. Siakam, 31%. Saric, 4%. Thaddeus Young, 1%. And at center, Karl Anthony Towns, number 1. Biyombo, 39%. Second. Whiteside, 4%. Third. Cauley Stein, 4%. So again, very surprising. I gave you guys Towns, and I like Embiid, and the optimizer is telling me, hey, that the top guy here is Karl Anthony Towns. So let's just go over some of the lineups. So this is some of the features here on Fantasy Cruncher. For instance, here we have Jimmy Butler, right? But let's look at this lineup here. They got Fox, Moutier, Booker, Butler, George, Carter, Larry Nance, Marvin Williams, and Biyombo. Now we know there's a good chance, very good chance. I would say it's about a good 75% chance that Devin Booker is going to be out today. So what you can do here on the Fantasy Cruncher, you can just click this right here, and it's going to bring up right on your screen there. You're going to be able to see players from 7,400 down. So it'll be Buddy Hield. These are players that you could take. This is the highest player you could take as far as salary without exceeding your budget. And let me just click on that again. And it goes straight down from there, from the highest one being 7,400 all the way down. So all you see, so it has Lou Will. I would take Lou Will. I would take Bogdanovich. I would flip that. So basically, we can just switch him for, let's say, Lou Will. So we go right to where the arrow's at here, circling, and we just put Lou Will into the lineup. And now Lou Will is in there with Jimmy Butler. And again, I told you I'm not high on Jimmy Butler because he's going to be facing, a good defender himself. But Moutier, Lewis, so again, let's just go, so just to share with you some guys here. So you got Fox, Moutier, Booker. Again, Booker will be out. You have to consider someone else. But you got Butler, Bogdanovich, Vince Carter, Marvin Williams, Giles, and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, for instance, for me, what I normally do is, you see, I tell you time and time again, I don't play all these guys, so I like choosing. So what I would do is I will go back and I will start eliminating some of the players that I really don't want. I will start pinpointing a little bit more the ones that I have the thumbs up on. Okay, the ones that I really, really think stand out and that I really would like, and then I just, you see these arrows here in the corner, I would take these arrows off. So whoever I do not want, I just start eliminating, and that's the best way to get your lineups. But again, I'll just share these lineups with you, and you get an idea of what is in store today as far as projections, and then you can just build from there. This is the second row of lineups. You got Walker, Fox, Butler, Okogie, Butler, Carter, Nance, Williams, and Towns. I like the Towns and Nance thing. I do like Otto Porter. The Okogie I can live with. Not too high on Jimmy Butler, but I can live with that. I think this is not a bad lineup right here. Okay. Then you have Fox, Moutier, Booker, Okogie, George, Bogdanovich, Siakam, Nance, and Biyombo. I'm okay with Siakam and Nance. I'm okay with George. I'm okay with Moutier and Fox. I can live with that. Not too high on Booker. Of course, if he's out, you have to replace him. In this one here, you got Fox and Moutier. You got Okogie, you got Dotson of the Knicks, George, Bogdanovich, Nance, Williams, in Towns. And then I'm just going to just pause it there for a moment so you can see more or less. You got that third row of lines. There goes your fourth row of lines. You can always pause the video later on and just, if you want to get an idea if this helps you in any way, other than obviously the plays I gave you, which a few of them are here. And then you got these here. And you got another row here. You got another row here. You got another row here. So I'm not going to go through all 70. I'll stop in one more row. And you're going to get the idea. It's going to be a lot of the same guys because some guys are as much as 40 or 50% in each one of these lineups. All right. So you're getting at least an idea. You could pinpoint a few plays. Obviously, a few of these guys I did mention. Like I did mention Porter. I did mention Nance. I did mention Karl Anthony Towns, Biyombo, Siakam I mentioned to you guys, Paul George. You know, so again, Kemba Walker. There's some guys here that I did mention in the actual video. Bogdanovich, the 2 Bogdanovich I told you guys I was on. I think they're fine plays. They're popping up here in these lineups. Siakam, Giles. You got Nance and Porter here as well. Moutier, Fox. Again, you know, so that's pretty much where we at, guys. So I figure I'll share that with you. One more time, I'll go back to the 5 that I did select. These are the 5 that I was concentrating on. And again, I did point out some other plays for you. Again, you're going to always get a lot of options here. Hopefully you guys like this. I mean, I figure a 8-game slate, it's a lot, but I knew more or less what guys I'm targeting. I just figured, hey, you know, my viewers might want to see a couple lineups today. So I figured let me do it that way. So I hope you guys like, man. Drop a like on the video. I greatly appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, never been here before, and you want to be able to get this kind of information on a regular basis, hey, only thing you have to do is be a subscriber, be a part of the DFS Zone community. And other than that, man, I wish you guys a lot of luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.